We're here with Brian Gilman. He's the CEO of the Bozeman-based Warriors in Quiet Waters Foundation. And he's also a 27-year combat veteran in the Marine Corps.
Thank you for your service.
For your service and for being here, Brian. We appreciate it. You don't look like a typical CEO. Are all the other CEOs afraid of you when you guys are at your Fortune 500 retreats?
Not at all. And I haven't been to a Fortune 500 retreat, but no, not at all. I waited 27 years to be able to grow a beard back. So I've been enjoying my beard since I retired. So I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show. Thank you very much. It was an honor for me to serve. I didn't know it growing up, but I was born to be a Marine, and that's something I learned once I joined the Marine Corps. So every day in the Corps was definitely worthwhile. My family and I got a ton out of it. So it's a big part of who I was and who I am now. So
nice. I grew up with my dad in the Air Force, so
wow.
I liked base life. It was fun. I always had play dates and people to hang out with.
He's never been able to grow a beard like you can. That's a lovely beard.
He hasn't. He's got brown hair and it would always come out red. Anyway, Okay. So on topic, what does Warriors in Quiet Waters do? Or do you military guys call it WQW?
We call it both. It's referred to as WQW, or Warriors in Quiet Waters. We're a 501c3 nonprofit veteran services organization that exists to empower post 9/11 combat veterans and their loved ones to thrive. And we do that through peak experiences in nature, meaningful connections, and a sense of community. The foundation was founded in 2007 by another retired Marine, lifelong Bozeman native, Eric Hastings, who served during the Vietnam era all the way up till the end of the Gulf War. Eric founded the foundation in 2007, ran our first two programs that year, and we've been building steadily to deliver the year-long high-touch program that we have now called Built for More in the 17 years that we've been around.
Wow.
And as part of your program, you bring in combat vets and have them go fly fishing, basically, for 6 days?
Yeah, it's a lot more than that now. When we got started in 2007, the program consisted of week-long fishing experiences, is what we call them. So a week-long experience here in Montana, learning to fly fish and really making connections. And that model worked great at the time when we were founded in 2007. We had a lot of wounded warriors that were in and out of the military hospitals. The military medical staffs were looking for places to get the wounded warriors to respite and outside of the hospital environment. And for the first basically 10 and 12 years of our existence as an organization, that's what we did. We provided week-long fly fishing experiences that immersed our participants in nature, connected them to this incredible art and skill of fly fishing, and helped them make human-to-human connections with the other warriors in their cohort, as well as the volunteers and the staff that supported the program. Since then, we've recognized that our veterans' needs have changed over time. And over the past 3 years, we've really worked to transform our program to what it is now, which is really a year-long program with week-long experiences here in Montana on the front end and the back end, and then virtual programming that happens with the warriors once they return home with their cohort, all designed to help them build what the science says is essential for thriving in life. And we utilize the nature and the fly fishing aspects really to set the conditions in the veterans themselves to be able to take on the challenging questions they have to answer and really craft a life of purpose and meaning going forward. And we recognize that one of those things that veterans lose when they leave the military is that strong sense of identity and purpose that they had while they were serving on active duty. So our program's a lot more than a fly fishing trip. It really takes a positive psychology approach and helps these veterans build strength in what we call the pillars of a thriving life.
Can you give me an idea of just, in case people don't understand fully what these veterans are going through, what is the underlying sort of battle that they're up against?
Yeah, I mean, I try hard not to ever generalize about veterans, but I can talk about the different challenges that veterans will face. Every individual veteran, their needs are specific to them and their family life and their circumstances. But they're the about 74,000 post 9/11 combat veterans suffered physical wounds of war. And those wounds, vary from traumatic brain injury to physical wounds, to what we call polytrauma, where they're dealing with multiple physical wounds and unseen wounds as well. There's the roughly 350,000 veterans every year that suffer symptoms of post-traumatic stress as a result of their service in post 9/11 combat. Those are the ones that you hear about the most.
Right.
But a big challenge that so many veterans struggle with when they leave the military is figuring out how to make their future as important, as meaningful as their past was. As you can imagine, serving as a warrior in the post 9/11 era provided all of our post 9/11 combat veterans this immense sense of purpose, this team that was around them always, where they made probably the most meaningful relationships in their lives, a mission that provided them purpose, that they were trained to go out and pursue every day of their life on active duty. And, so many, when they leave the military, whether they're leaving on their own terms or they're forced to leave on terms other than their own, which so many of our post 9/11 combat veterans have had to do because of wounds and things like that.
Yeah.
There's an immense sense of loss of those pillars of a thriving life, a clear sense of your identity, who you are, what your potential is, what a purposeful and meaningful life looks like for you. And there are other challenges depending on the veteran that you're talking about. That there may be, underlying substance abuse issues, family challenges as a result of the stress and anxiety that serving in a time of war in the military provides on families. So they're multivariate. Everyone is just as intense as the other, and it's really, every veteran has a different experience.
What was your involvement in the Mending the Line movie by Netflix?
The screenwriter Stephen Camilio reached out to us when he was still working on the screenplay, on the script, and asked us for some input, just to ensure that the story he was writing reflected true life in terms of the work that we do, military culture, things like that. So we were able to collaborate with Stephen and his team on the completing the script, and then we met with the production companies a couple times prior to them coming out to film the movie here in Montana. Giving them some tips and some things to think about in terms of the environment that they were going to be in, the time of the year, fly fishing itself, and then they were incredibly gracious to pull in many of our volunteers, our staff, as extras on the movie.
That's
in fact,
awesome.
The last scene of the movie was filmed at our ranch, Quiet Waters Ranch, and it's filled with all the extras that you see in that scene are Warriors in Quiet Waters volunteers, alumni, and our staff members. So, and then beyond that, once post-production, once they started getting the movie out into the public, they were very gracious to give us opportunities to spread the word about Warriors in Quiet Waters, where there were screenings that were happening across the country and that we were invited in to have a presence and to talk about Warriors in Quiet Waters. And every single story that I've read about Mending the Line mentions Warriors in Quiet Waters as well. So Stephen and his team have been incredibly gracious to us, have been incredibly generous to us, and it's been fun to really watch the success that it's had. So it's been a really exciting and rewarding project.
So what title did they end up giving you? You consulting producer? You just a consultant? What they call you?
I don't think I'm in the credits at all, but that's okay.
I bet you are. If I were the producer of that film, you would be in the credits. For goodness sake. Was that your first movie, Brian?
That is, I do not appear in the movie. So, I was intent to stay in the background. It's the first movie that you were involved with. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a significant role behind the camera. So good work. Were you on set at all?
I was not. My team was, and the team was heavily involved. So it was definitely a team effort. So
you never got to get yelled at by Brian Cox then?
Nope, never did. Never did.
I'm so sorry you missed out.
We're big Succession fans, so we were all excited to see Brian Cox.
He's a great actor.
Oh, for sure. No, he's an exceptional actor.
Classically trained Shakespearean
We thought
actor.
it was crazy that he had a heart attack in Succession, which is a show, and then he also had a heart attack in the movie.
That's his typecasting now.
I know. I was like, he's probably like, wow, another one. Thanks, guys, for
angry
casting
guy
me
who has heart attack.
I know.
Yeah.
Is it fairly accurate in the way the movie depicts a veteran's struggle with PTSD?
I think they did a great job representing that. I mean, it's no movie's ever going to be true to life. It's going to reflect.
How dare you?
Life. But yeah, I think I think it did a great job of reflecting, a representative example of some of the struggles that our post 9/11 combat veterans have experienced, and how they can potentially, move beyond healing from that to live in a thriving life. So, once again, you can't make it perfect because it's a movie, but I think they did a really good job of representing what that could look like for a veteran, for sure.
There is part of the movie where a vet says that losing his combat brothers was the worst part of the entire process. Do you think there's some truth to that?
I do. I mean, so many veterans struggle with, the survivor's guilt. They struggle from, the moral trauma that goes along with losing a brother or sister in combat. And that's something that you never move beyond. I was blessed. I never lost, with the exception of one Marine. I never lost any really close friends, but I lost friends. And for that one Marine in exception, I'd known him since he came into the Marine Corps. He served in the same unit that I was serving in Iraq when he gave his life in service to the country. And, that one I've carried that through forever. In every veteran will, they'll grapple with that in a different way. For me personally, I can't speak for other veterans, but for me personally, the conclusion that I arrived to was, my friends that didn't survive, I owe them the commitment of my time, all the time that they don't get anymore, to make my best use of that time in service of something. I've been blessed to be able to join the Warriors in Quiet Waters team and make that service in service of other post 9/11 combat veterans. But that's really the meaning that I've been able to make from my experiences losing brothers and sisters in combat. Yeah. So it's a huge part of the experience for just about anybody that served in the post 9/11 era, because they know someone who didn't survive. So
it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You're not just growing that beard for yourself.
I'm not.
So you guys don't just do fly fishing. I'm a hunter, so I like that. I'm an okay fly fisherman, but I'm a decent hunter. You also have a program called Hunt for Purpose. It's very similar to fly fishing, except for, is it hunting? Is it the kind of?
Yeah, it's Hunt for Purpose. Hunt for Purpose came to be as a result of my personal experiences following, my life experiences and my personal experiences following my time in combat. As I mentioned, our founder, Eric Hastings, he went, after coming home from Vietnam, he went to the water with a fly rod and tied on a fly, and he found healing through fly fishing. I was able to make meaning of my experiences in combat and, arrive at that conclusion about how to use my time and what a purposeful life looks like for me with a bow in my hand here in the mountains of Montana. Archery, elk hunting is that thing that provided me that environment to make that meaning. And I recognize that, that was another opportunity for us to serve veterans in a very compelling and unique way. It's while the activity that we use, hunting, is different than the fly fishing program, the rest of the program is exactly the same. They're going through a year-long program of what we call guided discovery, with the hunting experiences on each end, really to help them grow strength in those pillars of a thriving life that I talked about. And we just use archery elk hunting as another mechanism to do that. We also have a photography program. Same principle there. Many veterans find a creative outlet, and they can find that purpose through photography as well. So, the key is what we're really trying to do is create peak experiences in nature that set our veterans up to do the hard work that they need to do to move beyond healing to thrive.
That's so great. And what do you think it is about these activities that's so therapeutic for these guys who, you keep using the word purpose? I assume it comes back to that.
Yeah. I mean, I can go way deep in this rabbit hole, so I'll just give you that warning. But, both our founder Eric's and my personal experiences were nature based. I mean, that I feel closest to God when I'm in the mountains. I feel closest to who I am when I'm in the mountains, and I've always found that, it's a spiritual thing for me. And I've always found that in nature. I never really understood why. I accepted it. Growing up here in Montana, I'm an outdoorsman. Going to the mountains, going to the water, that's my happy place.
Yeah.
But
Understood.
as I've joined the team here at Warriors in Quiet Waters, I've spent a lot of time reading the research about it, and I can tell you why it happens. What the research tells us just about spending time in nature is it provides human beings incredible benefits. It reduces our stress and anxiety because it causes our cortisol levels to fall. It increases our hopefulness, our outlook, and our positive affect because it releases other hormones in our brains that generate those types of feelings. It goes so far as increasing your killer cell production in your immune system to make you more resistant against diseases and things like that. There's been research studies that show that it even affects brainwave activity, where it changes your brainwave activity after time in pure backcountry nature to those brainwaves that are most closely associated with long-term meditators and people in a state of flow. So it's what it does in our program is it sets the emotional and the psychological conditions in the veterans for them to be better problem solvers, to be more creative about these challenges that they're dealing with their transitions. So there are many well-researched, well-studied science behind why nature provides this to human beings. So
feeling such a rube just for being inside right now after hearing you say all that.
But I get it.
I went for a walk before our podcast just to, reconnect a little bit. So
I feel that. No, the whole time I was going through chemo, people were like, "Why are you still out running?" And I'm like, "It's keeping me alive and it's keeping me sane."
That's such a great explanation.
Let me ask you one question. Have you ever had an epiphany in the shower, driving down the road, anything like that?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we all have that experience, right?
I have it more on my runs.
Yeah, on your run. That's another great example. But if you dive into the research, what it's going to tell you on why that happens, or a couple reasons. The first is that as a result of participating in a comforting activity like running, like fly fishing, like hunting, like hiking, it starts to release dopamine into your brain. And then the second thing is there's different regions of your brain that come together called the default mode network. It is really those parts of the brain is most active when you're not focused. And that's really where mind wandering and those epiphanies come from, is when you're not focused, but you're fully engaged in the activity that you're doing, and your brain is still working those issues in the background. And that's where those epiphanies come from. So that's what activities like fly fishing, archery, elk hunting, running, things like that do for us. And they help us solve problems. And
There's
really
an
that's
autopilot element to it.
And that's what our program's about. It's about helping veterans problem solve to build a purposeful life.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for that answer.
Cool. I told you I'd go down a rabbit hole. So
it's a good rabbit hole to be in. And those rabbits are happy and they're relaxed because they're in nature.
Yeah.
So you served for 27 years. That's a long tour of duty. Was the food just too good to leave, or what? You said that you love being a Marine, so I get it.
I did. It was just shy of 27 years. I made the decision to join the Marine Corps late in my college career, about halfway through my senior year. I was a student at Montana Tech studying environmental engineering. Had no plans to ever leave Montana. But I had a couple high school buddies who served in the Gulf War, and that inspired a sense of service in me. And I talked about joining the Marine Corps, but I never really did anything about it. And finally, I was having a conversation with a close friend, and this friend told me, "Hey, you know what? You talk about this all the time, but you're not doing anything about it. You should take some action or shut up." So I called the recruiter and got into the process to join the Marine Corps with the intent to serve just 4 years and then return back to Montana. Go back to Montana Tech to get a graduate degree and never leave Montana again. And I eventually came home 27 years later.
Wow.
So it wasn't intended to serve a career, but as I mentioned, I discovered I was a decent average Marine and I loved it. So every time it was time to make the decision to stay in or to get out, the Marine Corps made it pretty easy for me to make the decision to stay in the Marine Corps. So
through some very turbulent times.
Yeah.
We're all aware. You played football at Montana Tech. How do you feel about all the success that the Cats and Grizz have had lately?
It's great to be home and watch it. So, I continued to follow the ore diggers and the Grizz and the Cats while, the whole time I was gone. So it's nice to actually be able to go to games again and see my favorite teams doing what they're doing in the sports arenas. So
I know. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at Montana.
Yep. Very exciting.
Yeah. Getting coverage.
Yeah.
I do have, before we let you go, this has been a great interview, but I do have a dumb game.
Okay.
This is called 2F2A, okay, which stands for fly fishing for acronyms and abbreviations. And in the military, you guys love to shorten things for efficiency, but in the world of fly fishing, there is just no concern about that. They have the dumbest names for flies that are incredibly long. So I need your help. I'm going to give you a fly with a name that's too long, and then together we're going to come up with a shorter way to call that fly. All right.
Okay.
You don't need
Sounds
to know
good.
that much about flies this way.
Okay.
I don't know anything. So the first one's easy.
Okay.
Drunk and disorderly. Okay. This gets its name from the erratic swimming action it produces when dredged through the water column. But drunk and disorderly, it takes way too long to say. What are we going to call that, Brian?
Dizzy fly?
Ooh, I like it.
That's what the military would go with, you think?
Ooh, probably not. Probably not. D&D?
D&D.
We call it
That's a
D&D.
good one.
I thought that's what you would say for that one.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
I guess.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to connect with the acronym, so I'm focused now.
Firing on all cylinders. I
outstanding.
like it. Okay, so the Bar's meat whistle. I can't believe that's a name for a fly.
It's a fly.
This unique fly uses a 90-degree jig hook as the chassis, sorry, letting it hop over boulders and snake through weed beds without hanging up. I appreciate you giving me that one with all the big words and anyway. So Bar's meat whistle.
Meat whistle. What are we calling it,
Boy,
Brian?
howdy.
BMW.
BMW. That seems very straightforward.
Yep, I like it.
Yep. That you just saved us a bunch of
BMW.
time.
Yeah.
Also, it sounds way less silly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Crazy to call for that.
Pull
when you're
that out of the box.
when you're on the river.
Bar's meat
Hand
whistle.
me the Bar's meat whistle, grandson. All right. How about the deepwater damsel? This imitates the damselfly, of course. During a hatch, you want to imitate the nymphs swimming to the shoreline just underneath the surface. But deepwater damsel, what are we saying?
Deep dam.
Deep dam.
Nice.
Yeah, that one rolls off the tongue.
Not
better.
D-Wad.
I thought maybe D-Wad, but
D-Wad's pretty good too. Yeah.
All right, I
like
think
it.
that's an insult. Okay, next we have fly, formerly known as Prince, the original Prince nymph with a modification, a wing built out of holographic tinsel.
Fly, formerly known as Prince.
Like somebody's gonna ask you to grab that.
That's way too many words.
Can't believe
Purple rain.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll stick with that.
All right. It
As a
doesn't
Prince
sound
fan.
very military to me, but I like
No,
it.
it doesn't. I was a big Prince fan growing up, though. So
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, you and me both. All right. How about the Kaufman stimulator? This is originally designed to imitate the giant stonefly. Kaufman stimulator.
ooh,
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Kaufman. C-stem.
It starts with a K though. Kaufman.
So K-stem.
K-stem.
The
I
K-stem.
like it.
Yeah.
K-stem.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one works
Yeah.
really well. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Reads
Yeah,
well
you
over the
bet.
airwaves.
I hope these catch on. I hope there are a bunch of
Yeah.
fly fishermen out there like, oh, I'm definitely calling my Kaufman stimulator K-stem from now on.
Definitely.
Yes.
That's what
All
we're
right,
going to
here's
start
my-
calling them in our program. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, black and peacock spider. It's a traditional wet fly, which is often successful when fished on the middle dropper of a 3-fly cast.
Okay.
You really were trying to
Everybody
tongue
knows
twist
that,
me.
Michelle. Black and peacock spider.
Black and peacock spider.
How
Oh, I
about the
like
pea
the
spider?
freeze frame for me.
The pea spider. All right.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Yeah.
I had pitched maybe BP8. Okay.
BPA to be good too.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know if you ever call a
Yeah.
spider
legs.
an 8 in military.
Yeah. No,
But
never
Joe
did,
just
that'd work.
assumed.
I think the pea
That'd
spider
work.
works as well. All right.
Yeah.
Last one, rat-faced McDougal. All right, this is a high-floating dry fly that originated in the Catskills. We all know that. The rat-faced McDougal.
Ratmac.
Rat Mac.
Oh,
It's like the
throw
Rat
that in the
Pack,
water.
But it's the Rat Mac. I
I
like
like it.
that a lot.
Yeah.
That's so good. There are other dumb names, Shop Vac, Hippie Stomper, Bacon and Eggs, Montreal Whore. There are just a lot of silly names for flies out there, but I think we hit the high
Drunk people
points.
were tying these. Yeah. People were like, let's just call it this. And it's
I think if you are the first one to tie it, then you get to name it is the deal. And that's why there's so.
I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah. Much like hurricanes.
Brian Gilman, CEO of Warriors in Quiet Waters Foundation. Thank you so much for being here with us and tolerating all of our nonsense. We appreciate it. It's really nice to meet you.
No problem at all. It was great being
Thank
on
you for your
really
time. Yeah. Thank you for your time and for your service and for this organization. It's such a cool concept and we really appreciate you.
Thank you as well.